The US topping the latest Bloomberg COVID resilience ranking hit the headlines this week.
我想，世界民众只能表示呵呵了。
Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said the always authoritative Bloomberg had adopted a twisted view that is neither factual nor respectful to science and human life. Netizens are confused over how Bloomberg came up with the ranking, since the US still leading the world in COVID cases and death tolls. On average, 300 people died each day in US in June. How did it become the best country?
The Bloomberg started the COVID resilience ranking in November 2020, but indicators vary as the ranking is updated every month. The Bloomberg explains retiring old metrics and introducing new ones is to better reflect the progress towards normalization. But people are suspicious if the change in metric is more about making the US on the top at number one.
They try to manipulate the report to reflect a world in their own mind, which is very dangerous, negative, extremely dangerous for the future corporations to countering against this global pandemic.
If we look at the rankings in detail, we will get a fuller picture of the political angle taken by Bloomberg. A big drag on China and other Asian countries in the ranking is lockdown severity. Bloomberg interprets restrictive government policies as a negative in the rankings, and China's severity score is near the worst in June.
It seemed a very scientific method to doing their report, but after reading this methodology, for example, about the lockdown severities, they did not collect own data. They did not go to the field work to understand what does lockdown mean and how does lockdown did in different countries and regions. They just copied the data from the Oxford. But frankly speaking, there are two different kinds of lockdowns in the world. The worst scenarios and the practice of lockdown happened in United Kingdoms and happened in the United States. The government completely losing control when they use these terms lockdown to describe their policies. That means they just completely give up. Of course, that's a mess.
While Bloomberg argues that imposing lockdowns reflects a failure to progress, the argument sounds more like lockdown is an authoritarian measure that free-loving people in the West would not like. It totally fails to recognize the necessity of lockdown in curbing the growth of COVID cases. The US laissez-faire attitude towards lockdown should undoubtedly be blamed for the country's high number of COVID deaths.
You will be misguiding. You will go to maybe the worst countries or areas during the protection and antivirus activities, especially in the government levels, and you will be misbelieve that area is not the worst but the best, which means this report described the white into the black and vice versa. So I'm not sure why Bloomberg, this financial media, is famous for the articulate of the data, of very objective or relatively comparing to BBC and CNN and those medias, the objective attitude to the news, to telling people the truth so that people can make proper rational decisions based on their truth, will launch such kind of very ridiculous ranking report.
So, should people take the ranking seriously?
No.
No and yes. No, because this is a partial survey with cherry-picked ideology-driven indicators that hardly reflects the country's resilience as the world reopens. Consider resilience. What comes to your mind? I would consider free COVID treatment, punishing irresponsible officials as the real meaningful indicators. But will the Bloomberg be reluctant to include them simply as these are aspects China has done far more exemplary working than the US?
Yes, because if the US was ranked as the number one in its resilience, it means the US serves a role model for other countries. In that case, countries would risk losing hundreds of thousands of lives had they followed the steps of the US. All in all, it's a ranking dressed up for headlines.